I'm Mark Eikenberry. Let's talk about buying a house. So, one of the things that for the past um, since 2011, I have not owned a home, and so I got divorced, and and I went and rented a place for a year after that, and that was all fine and everything. And I had thought to myself, okay, well, I'll turn around and buy another home. I'll give myself a year to figure all that out and everything. And then I ended up moving halfway across the country. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and then I moved to Mississippi. Moved there with a friend, rented another place for a year, and then I met my now wife, and 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 then now we're in Florida. So I have ended up renting for 10 years, actually more than that. And the uh, business stuff, I always keep working on the business, trying to bring it to the next level and everything. Because if I can do that, then I can generate a lot more income, and it opens up a lot more opportunities for me. Well, the fact of it is that that while I've done okay over these past 10 years, that I've had a lot of other challenges along the way that have really stopped me from buying a house. And so now we've got to. We absolutely have to buy a house, and we have to buy it soon. And the reason is that, and you may not have thought about this if you don't own a house. If you own a house, you know this. Having a house is the number one item you need in order to start building wealth. And wealth is not like, oh, hey, I'm mega rich. Wealth is really about, having some assets that are worth something, that that allow you to take comfort in the fact that you're not going to go broke, and that you have something you can leverage. Like if you've owned a home for the last 10 years, it's most likely gone up in value, unless you're in Florida. 10 years ago, the houses were more expensive than they are right now, even though they've gone way up recently. It's pretty incredible. There was a bubble that really burst 10 years ago here. And so, anyway, I have this real drive right now that we need to buy a house, and so that is my number one goal right now. Some of the stuff that we've been running into is the housing market is really crazy right now, and then the home loans, they've changed it. 10 years ago, you could have got a home loan where your house payment would be half of your income for the month. And the banks would do that. They'd do like a 50%. But with after, these home loan bubbles and all the stuff that's happened, it has boiled down to now, like my primary bank says 25% of the income now. And so while I make more than enough to afford the home that we need, the banks won't loan it. And because I don't make exorbitantly more than what we need. And I get they're being timid on this and having these lower numbers, but at the same time, it makes it harder to actually qualify. And so now we have qualified, but for an amount lower than what we expected. And it's enough to buy a piece of shit house that has enough rooms. But on one token, it'd be our piece of shit house. We'd own it. But on the same token, is it really what we need? And what kind of other challenges are we going to run into with it? So Anyway, it presents quite a challenge. The light here keeps moving. The darn sun moving around. So anyway, I got the idea here that, okay, so we're going to do our next year of taxes. And I'm filming this right at the beginning of January 2022. And I thought, okay, I'm self-employed. I can file my taxes right away. I can get it all figured out, file them right away. I submitted all the stuff to my tax guy yesterday. And he says, great, it all looks good. But the IRS does not accept filings until February 12th. It's the first day that they'll accept filings for 2021. I'm like, what? That's another month. And we're trying to make sure that we buy a place quickly here so that we can so that we don't have problems with our lease. So we have a lease here on this house, and we can't be doing both at the same time for 6 or 8 months. We really need to time this so that it's within a few months of our lease ending. And so that's been a real challenge. And now I have this month delay. So what do? Well, I'm starting to go and look at houses anyway, and we are asking the realtors up front about whether or not the homeowner would consider financing it themselves. And we have one that they said yes, that they will consider it. They said they won't say that they will agree to it, but they said they would consider it. And the home is owned by a person who already has a primary residence, and this other home was used as a business. And so it's just sitting on their books, costing them money. And being a business person, maybe they want to earn some interest on it. Maybe they're fine with just having it, the costs covered and such. So that is the route that we're going to do for the next month. And so, when in a place of being blocked by something, look for what other options you have. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're looking for what other options we have because, we need to get this done. And, it's all fine and dandy. Oh, and the reason we're waiting on the IRS is because I made more last year than the previous 2 years. And I need that income to show up so we can get a higher loan number. And at least I know that if we don't get anything in the next month, we've been trying, and if once the taxes are submitted, then I can go through my loan process again, and I'll have higher numbers, because that's what the banks want. The banks want your last 2, sometimes 3 years of verifiable income, and they want it via tax record. They don't care about when you're self-employed. It makes it so much harder to when you're self-employed, it makes it so much harder to get a home loan, because you have so much more proof that you need to provide. The pay stubs that you get from your employer, if you're employed by someone, is way more valuable than because the banks take that as gold. And so if I were working for somebody else, then the banks would accept that real easy, even if it was middle of the year, as verifiable income. And so being self-employed, you have profit and loss statements you have to give, you have all of this other stuff. And so one other trick that I am deploying here, and I hope the mortgage companies don't watch this, is that I have decided to not count my company expenses on my taxes for last year. And don't go, oh my God, that's illegal, because it's not illegal. The IRS cares that you pay your tax for the money you've earned. And then as a business owner, you have expenses. You have your office space, you have computer hardware, you have, whatever tools of the trade and stuff. In my case, I have a lot of software licenses. I have, a bunch of services that I pay for, and computer hardware. And so I decided that I would not take any deduction for the expenses that I have paid out in the previous year against my taxes. Thus, it raises my income number by that amount. Catch side is I have to pay more tax because then I'm paying tax on that portion. Now, I don't know if next year I can go file an amendum or if I can claim last year's expenses on, this year's tax or something like that. I might be able to. I don't know. I haven't asked my tax guy this, but he suggested that I do not include my expenses, and thus it will raise my income by that much, which will make it look better for the bank. And so my bank now for the home loan puts me at direct odds with the with what I file with the IRS and trying to have more money to put towards a home loan. So, it's one of these crazy things we do. I am voluntarily paying the IRS more tax. How crazy is that? That's really fucking crazy, now that I think about it. But if it gets me into a house this year, and that one thing does it, and it costs me however much more in tax to do that, then it's a win. So that's what I'm doing this year. Wish me luck. And so there'll be more videos in this series. That's it for this one. But do hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you made it this far in the video, you may as well. And I thank you. Please leave any comments. Or if you have any suggestions on anything I've said here on how we can do this better, what I can possibly change to make things work better, do leave a comment. I would love to hear that feedback. So, Marcus Eikenberry, take care, and see you next video.